the major issues is the breadth with which those programs are able to reach people. If I go out into the community, and I can remember when I first got elected, a young man got killed at 73rd and Weld Street, and a group of kids stood out there at his house. He got shot in front of his mother's house in the driveway. And these kids stood out there. So I went out to see, what they were doing, what they were talking about, what they were thinking, right? And so in talking to some of those young people, they didn't even know about the programs that were right up the street at Eastmont, within walking distance to their neighborhood. And so how do we truly measure whether or not these programs are being effective? You know, when I listened to one of my colleagues tell a young man who got up, who represented a program funded by Measure Y, and they were going to cut the funding for that program. And he said, I'm the kind of person that this program should be about. I know what these kids are going through. I've been shot. I've been to jail. I've dealt drugs. And she said she wasn't sure that he had the expertise. And I thought, I got up from my office and came downstairs to tell him, you come back and you keep pushing your point, because you're the person who can reach those people. You've been there. And so who am I to say what the expertise is, right? Right? And so a part of what we have to do, I tell young people all the time, I'm 46. It's been a long time since I've thought like a 20-year-old, right? So I don't know everything you need. I don't know what you're thinking. And unless you tell me, and then you're going to get my 46-year-old perspective.
Well, a lot of that eloquence comes from having listened, I think, over those 46 years too, which I think is an important trait. Let's talk jobs, because another issue is this economic circumstance, the hopelessness or the feeling that there's not a job opportunity. You and I have, over the years, had a very productive dialogue regarding workforce development as well as capacity building. On the workforce development side, what steps do you think we can take as a community to address the entry issue as well as the re-entry issue? So we have young people who are getting out of high school, some young people who are getting out of high school without a diploma, and then we have young people who are in the early 20s coming out of jail on parole, needing a way to re-enter society and get a job and have an opportunity. What can you tell us about those issues?
One of the things that I've been talking to people about a lot lately is vocational education. When I was in high school, you were able to enroll at the high school in a vocational educational class. I actually enrolled in cosmetology school. I am a beauty school dropout, right? But I did go for a couple of months, not because I wanted to do hair, but it was something I wanted to learn about, right? But I went to high school 3 days a week, or my senior year, for half a day, and then the rest of the time I could go to this program. So if I had done that my whole senior year, I would have graduated with my cosmetology degree as well as my diploma. I'm told there used to be a program here somewhere that had a wealth of vocational education programs, and everybody's not going to college. But if we can teach people a trade, and if we can do it and connect with them at the high school and do a project between the community colleges and the high schools, then we could begin to prepare people to be either self-employed or go into some employment type of activity. I've also been talking to people about, how do we position ourselves as a city for the next wave of resources? One of the things that came out of our economic summit was that we rely too heavily on the property sales transfer.
This is the mayor's economic summit.
No, the economic retreat we did in November of last year. But the economists that came in said that we rely too much on sales, property sales.
Real estate transfer tax.
Thank you.
Fair enough. It's okay. It's a tag team.
Yes,
we work off each other.
And so if we don't make our revenue stream more flexible, then we become subject to the whims of the market.
And we're experiencing the bubble right now, the burst of the bubble.
Exactly. And so how do we look at new types of industries that we're going to bring into the city? We have an opportunity with the port. We have an opportunity with these green jobs. And so through those types of things, how do we then look at the needs of those industries and then couple training programs in real time for young people to go into.
So mentioning the port, it being the economic engine and a very important part of the Northern California economy, really the regional economy, and the Wayans brothers and their recent announcement that they do not want to pursue the old Army base. What do you think are the next steps, and really, if you could predict, what do you think the use of the Army base facility should be?
Well, it's not that they said they didn't want to pursue the Army base. They don't want to pursue it in the way that they originally said that they did. At least that's the email that I saw.
Okay.
I've not talked to anybody else, so I can't say that I've got that absolutely certain, but
Right.
based on what I read, that's my understanding. I think that the council's going to have to get together and look to see if we need the Wayans deal to do something other than what they said they were going to do.
Fair enough. Okay, so you basically feel that that's still actively in the process.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay. Okay.
I just said we need to evaluate whether or not we need them
I got you.
to do less than what they said they.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So on the workforce development front, the category of jobs that we often see are focused on construction jobs. And with the slowdown in the housing market and potentially also a cooling of the commercial market, the question really is, you know, what's the availability of those construction jobs and what are the alternatives? So as a job center and as a job creator, what is Oakland's focus as far as attracting and retaining employment, creating jobs?
That's a good question.
Where should that come from?
Where should it come from in terms of attracting jobs?
Is this a focus or a syllabus or a goal for a city and a community? How should we establish, what process should we go through to establish what we want Oakland to be by way of a job center or creating jobs?
Well, you know, certainly there are hopefully a number of staff people who are working on issues such as this. That's what community and economic development is supposed to be about. But certainly, you know, you and I have worked on trying to build this whole capacity issue around construction.
Right.
I'm trying to work with contract compliance relative to ensuring that we implement our Hire Oakland programs.
Right.
I've been pushing the whole notion that we have over $1 billion budget in this city. If we just took our money and recirculated our own money in our own community, we might create some jobs out of that as well.
Sure,
So,
good point.
you know, there are, when the markets shift, then you could look to different parts of the market to take up the slack. And so
that's a procurement strategy for what the city needs to buy, as well as making sure that companies that do business with the city have good moorings in this community, both from people who